Are you comfy up there? Yeah? Jesus. Leeds United have a kryptonite that a lot of people haven't been able to notice this season so far because it's not one that we've had to deal with as often as you might expect. It's a very weird kryptonite, but it is something that could endanger the run-in as we approach the end of the season, and I think it could cause some real issues if we don't deal with it as soon as possible. But first, subscribe. I'm aiming for 3,000 subscribers, and Iris up here will be quite sad if we don't get there. I might take the blanket out of a box. I'm feeling mean. Anyway, so to understand where Leeds United's kryptonite lies, we need to understand more about where Leeds United have thrived and ultimately work back from there. And Leeds have played plenty of great games this season. Don't get me wrong, we have been absolutely spectacular. I'm just talking about a little bit of kryptonite because it's interesting to me, you know? And we are a very highly transitional side, which means that we do well against attacking teams. Teams that come at us don't have that much of a defensive structure behind the attacking line, which means that we can play into those spaces, keep attacking them. We've got pacey, skilled wingers like Crescencio Somerville, Dan James, Willie Nonto, that when they're given space, absolutely use that space and will score a goal from it. Technically, Dan James scored a fantastic goal on the transition a couple of days ago, sort of on a counter-attack. Crescencio Somerville against Watford had that little bit of space and was able to bend a shot in. If we give our players space and there aren't defenders in a structure, we'll be fantastic. And most of the time, no matter who we're against, we will squeak out results. One of the main things that I'm going to use as an example here is the match against Leicester City. They weren't necessarily transitional goals, but it showed that when you're against a team that will attack a lot and won't just sit in, which, let's be honest, Leicester did not just sit in against us, we're going to do quite well. But whilst that happens, there have been some games where we've struggled. So where exactly do Leeds United struggle? This isn't quite the kryptonites. This is games where they haven't gone well, but at the same time, they're not going to fundamentally kill the season. And we're not really brilliant against low blocks. Against low blocks, where we've got other teams sitting in against us, just bodge, waiting there, it's almost impossible. So, for example, against Huddersfield, it will sometimes lead to failure. We only got the one goal. We really needed two there. And we could have lost if they didn't lose a player right before half time, but they did. And that's quite funny because Huddersfield lost one of their few chances to get all 3 points. And we ended up okay. We ended up with 1 point from it. It did kill a winning run, but even then, it's not the biggest of issues. We break through eventually because we have the individual skill. As I mentioned, Somerville, Ruter, Nonto will take on a player one-on-one, and once they're past them, they've got another player to deal with. And whilst it won't work every single time, they will slowly crawl their way through a back line, create enough of an opportunity to score a goal. Brilliant. Winner. However, we then get to the kryptonite. The thing where when Leeds United play against it, things start to feel a little bit more impossible. And we've seen it against Watford, we've seen it against Hull, and it's caused some fundamental issues every single time we've come up against it. And that is the fact that the Whites constantly struggle when playing against a high press. What tends to happen with it is this is a side that has consistently played against low blocks, against mid blocks, not teams that are going to step up against you and sort of take it to you one-on-one. Which means that our players have become a little bit used to having time on the ball, being able to build passing patterns, nice little runs of play that aren't threatened by other sides. But this time, they've not got as much of an opportunity to make a decision. They can't spend their time on the ball sitting there, seeing the players in front of them move about and go, right, Archie Gray at right back, play it to him, he'll push the ball forwards a little bit, 1-2 in the midfield, brilliant, we're through. And that means that instead we tend to get penned back. What will happen is you'll get Ampadu being pressed, and he won't have the time to go, right, Junior Firpo's making that run, so if he makes that run, then there's a midfielder coming across. You've not got the time to make those mental calculations. So you got Ampadu being pressed, goes, shit, who's available? Joe Rodon to the side of him. Who is in the same situation, gets pressed, goes, uh-oh, back to Melier. And eventually you get to a sort of worried state where you'll end up just huffing the ball as far as you can. You'll try and bypass the midfield because, shit, all the pressing players are coming out of midfield. You're getting squeezed from there, so if we're able to get away from that, we'll be completely fine. But bypassing the midfield doesn't work either. Because in wide positions, you've got Somerville and James, who, let's be honest, they're good players, but they're not going to win the headers for you. Or you've got Patrick Bamford, who is reasonable in the air, But that's not what he's known for. He's known for his nice little bits of movement and causing problems with the back line. And there is a way that we tend to fix it. But how do we tend to fix it? Is it something that we can replicate, something that we can do very consistently? It's Ilya Gruev. Ilya Gruev is the sort of player that will receive the ball, and something that you'll note with a lot of midfield players is they'll go, right, okay, so there's a pass potentially coming into me, and they'll scan. They'll look over this shoulder, look over this shoulder. There's a player here, there's a player here. What do I need to do to get away from it? And whilst you'll see a lot of what Ilya Gruev is doing and think, well, he's just received the ball and played the simple pass, he knows that the simple pass is there because of what he's done. It makes him very, very highly press resistant because no matter where the press is coming from, he's seen it and he knows what his next move is. And whilst his passing might be short and he's not necessarily got the passing range of Ampadu, you might remember Ampadu's assist for Bamford at Peterborough was just a ping all the way up the pitch. Or earlier in the season, there was another ping all the way up the pitch for Jorginho Rutter. We don't know if Ilya Gruev has that necessarily in his locker, but his passing is consistent. He won't lose the ball for us, and that is ultimately what we need when we're playing against a high press, because as someone that plays a lot of seven-a-side myself and is the only bugger that presses on my team, you will press for a full game and you'll be exhausted by halftime. And as that goes on, as Gruev is able to keep the ball away from them, that press slows down and gets slower and slower and slower, and their midfield and attackers tire themselves out. And that's when we can strike. And I would love to have Ilya Gruev back as soon as possible. But we don't know how he's doing. Daniel Farke had his press conference earlier on and said that there's a little bit of a chance of him playing, but ultimately we will find out tomorrow if he ends up on the pitch. At least I think we'll find out tomorrow. I'm recording this on Thursday. I think I'm releasing this tomorrow, and then I'll do a match preview the day after that. So I guess we'll find out in that one whether he makes my predicted lineup. Stick around for that one. But ultimately, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think we will see Ilya Gruev? Do we think that the high press is really our kryptonite, or have we just been unlucky and low energy against Watford and Hull City? I think that high pressing sides have been a big problem for us so far, and if it continues going into the end of the season, we could potentially drop some points. I think we'll be okay. But the likes of the match against Southampton on the last day of the season, that's a team that's going to bring it to us. And that is a team that we will have to really think and deal with in the most effective way possible. But let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe. You could even become a channel member. I'm doing the occasional like balls knowledge extra time thing up there for members just to say thank you. So if you fancy that, pop over there. And I will be seeing you later. For the people that stick around after the video, I won't really take the cat's blanket, I promise. That would be really mean of me. I wouldn't do such a thing. She's so cute. Yes, aren't you? Yes, you should. Oh, there you are. See you later.